Hello listeners, and welcome to another week on Chasm Converses. My guest this week is Tyler Gunn, solo musician and artist joining me from Toronto, Canada. We have a wonderful chat about his life in music, including his newest single, which you're currently listening to, A Million Miles. We also go deep into the creative processes of being a musician and an artist, as well as reflecting on the current way things are formulated in different elements within the artist's psyche. Remember, it's more so about the journey than the destination. So join us and let's get conversing. Chasm Converses. Tyler Gunn, welcome to Chasm Converses.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
It's so awesome to have you here, man. So lovely to meet you as well. Whereabouts are you joining me from today?
So I'm located in Toronto. I call it the Greater Toronto Area. So I'm not right in the city, just a little bit out in the suburbs. People Toronto kind of like, if you say that you're from Toronto when you're like in the suburbs, they'll like, so in the suburbs of that area.
Wow, that's awesome, man. Like I've always wanted to go to Toronto, and obviously Canada itself. My favorite wrestler, my favorite WWE wrestler, Edge, is from Toronto. So I'm kind of like, I'm like, yeah, I've always wanted to go there and like, you know, go see the Sky Dome and all that kind of thing. Have you lived there your whole life?
Yeah, born, raised. I haven't lived anywhere else. It's just Canada.
Oh wow, man, that's so cool. I'd love to like, yeah, that's awesome, man. I'd love to like launch into obviously yourself as a musician as well, because obviously, you know, you've been in Canada your whole life. I suppose you've been like growing up and whatever, you've had so many different like musical sort of inspirations and stuff like around you as you sort of decided to, like, I guess, pursue music and stuff. What sort of like music did you listen to when you were growing up?
Yeah, so I want to say like that is spot on, because I think Toronto might be the most multicultural city in the world. So I've just kind of grown up around all different types of culture, taste, music, that sort of thing. And so I actually grew up with mostly R&B and hip hop. That was kind of my parents' main influence. And I didn't actually know about rock music until probably it was when I turned 14, and I had a friend that I met in high school, and he had introduced me to the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And
oh wow, yeah, awesome.
That was around the time when I started playing guitar as well. And I literally had no vocabulary of rock music whatsoever. I didn't know Led Zeppelin, didn't know Pink Floyd, none of that stuff. And then it kind of all came crashing. And it just, it started there. And then once I kind of got a feel for that kind of music, I just didn't want anything else, you know? And it was perfect as a guitar player too, because I think that if you're going to learn an instrument, you really need to have like a guitarist, or someone who plays the instrument to kind of inspire you to kind of really take it seriously. And I always knew I wanted to play guitar even before I knew about rock music or knew much guitar music at all. And so once I had like John Frusciante of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, once I had him as like an influence, I was like, this is the direction I'm going in. And I think for the first like 2 years, I might have only listened to that band, just straight, like nothing else. So
it's an amazing band to like kick it off for you too. Hey, like, I mean, they're obviously so well known, like all over the place, and like they have such a diverse discography as well across all their different albums and stuff. So many different like rock elements in there to kind of like, I guess, influence you and to sort of allow you to start your path in doing guitar and stuff. That's so cool as well. Like, I guess like because you started learning guitar through doing that kind of stuff. Are you one of these people who did you pick up like being able to play the guitar and singing at the same time? Was that something that you were able to pick up quite well, quite quickly, or did it take a bit of time to be able to do that?
It would actually surprise you. And I think this would be encouraging to anybody who thinks about playing guitar or singing. I started playing guitar. I had no intention of singing. Really what it was for me was I wasn't a shredder. I just couldn't shred. Like I couldn't play very fast. And I'm like, well, if I can't do that, then I might as well start learning how to sing. Like I just might as well stack these. So I didn't start singing until 2 years into playing guitar, which was, I started playing when I was 14. So then I would have started singing around 15, 16. And like I did not get it at the beginning. Not good at it. I could not sing for the life of me. If I showed you like voice memos of me in 2016 and that sort of era, like I didn't seem like I was on track to be a singer. I'll put it that way. you know.
Right. Okay. Yeah. No. I mean, I have like voice images like that myself now, but I'm still kind of like. I mean, you're better. You're definitely better, but
For sure.
you got some improving and that kind of thing to do as well. I love that, especially like whenever you write down ideas and whatever. Like, it's so good that we have like phones and stuff that we can sort of just like record something really quickly or put like a vocal line down or just some sort of an idea that we can sort of then kind of go back to and that sort of thing. I actually went through mine today because I'm trying to record some stuff before I head back to Australia for a bit. But I just went through so much of my like the recordings and stuff on the phone and that kind of thing. And there's so much there that I've just like kind of forgotten about.
Yeah.
Do you sort of also have that same kind of thing on your phone or
So
like in like your book?
it's a funny thing because like because we're in the age of technology, I kind of have an archive of my entire musical arc from like the very first songs I ever recorded on my voice memos back in like 2015, right? Because like the iCloud
Yeah.
carries over and I'm on the same account that I've had since I like had an iPhone.
Oh,
So
right. Yeah.
I have my entire arc and I don't know, maybe at one day I'll release that in some kind of capacity, but like I have like
Yeah.
first demos of my voice and you can kind of see the progress. So I definitely like to keep track of that and like refer back and just kind of wonder how I ever got here from where I started.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. And then, I'm very similar in the fact that I look at some older ideas and I'm kind of like, man, yeah, maybe I should like work that idea and
Yeah.
like redo it into the way that I'm doing stuff now and like put it out
Mhm.
and all that kind of thing. That's so fascinating, man. I love the way that sort of is how you sort of, I guess sort of like progressed in music and stuff. Did you ever kind of like join any kind of bands or anything like that as you sort of progressed, getting like a little bit old and that kind of thing, or did you kind of always just sort of stick to the solo stuff yourself?
So I always wanted to have a band. Like a couple of friends and myself, we had it in our idea in our mind when we all were into the same kind of music in early high school to be in a band. And I think we
Yeah.
all kind of really wanted that at one point, but then I guess
Mm.
just I don't know. Music is something that you have to really take charge of on your own before you can even get to that point. And so I kind of
Right.
just found that for me to kind of progress the way I was progressing, I needed to just do it by myself. And so
Hmm.
I've always wanted a band just because obviously if my favorite musician group was Red Hot Chili Peppers, like that band dynamic is like the most iconic
Yeah.
one that exists, right? So I
100%. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, yeah. So I always just like was longing for that. And more recently, I'm actually just starting to put together my live band. But in that time period, like I jammed with a few friends in high school and like we tried writing songs and that sort of thing. But nothing really ever took off as much as like just kind of sitting in my
Mm.
room and just playing, you know?
Yeah, yeah, doing your own thing. Yeah. And sometimes you can get kind of, I guess, like lucky in that respect of, everyone's on the same page and you can sort of make something up of it and it can kind of go. I mean, I was with that with my high school band. We all were just together and that was like my first band. I got into a band without even realizing that I was going to be in a band. It was crazy, but I got real lucky in that regard. But then like, I mean, I love the fact that, yeah, like you've got your sort of getting a band together now. That's so perfect because you've done, so many things so far, EPs and singles and whatever. So that would be absolutely amazing if that's something that you could sort of like, I guess, like bring together. I'd love to know, like, I guess when you sort of started doing your solo stuff and you sort of started releasing your own songs and stuff like that, like how was I guess, your process in going about like writing and putting songs out? Like what sort of things did you sort of write about?
Yeah. So I would say it really wasn't something that was intentional in the beginning. Like I
Mm,
had one guitar class, like I'm mostly self-taught, and I had one guitar class in my sophomore year of high school. And one of our assignments was to write a song, and we had like a group exercise where we wrote a song. And did
yeah.
that, and I was like, wow, this is fun. And I've always just liked expressing myself. I think I used to want to be an actor actually. And so in my
All
mind, the
right.
12-year-old me, that was my idea of like what I was going to pursue because I've always just had that kind of performative nature. And so
Mm,
when that really wasn't the direction I was going in, I was like, oh, music is kind of something that I can do. But it was more in the
hmm.
back of my head. And I just really got a real sense of gratification from being able to write something that I was proud of.
That's so cool. I mean, I think that a few kind of musicians and uh, creative people and whatever sort of have those sort of aspirations as well to, be that like, I guess, performer in a way. But
So,
yeah, that's awesome. I love the fact that that's something that you wanted to do.
so there's this theory that I have. Like, I think that a lot of people have the potential to be um like great artists, and not to call myself a great artist because I don't think I'm there yet, but I think what
Mm.
separates people is it's like it's a difference between something that is like it'd be nice to do versus it's like a need. And so when songwriting kind of emerged for me, it kind of just became a very therapeutic thing that I did and I didn't really think about, and it was something for me. And I think that that
Yeah.
distinction, like it wasn't meant for anybody else. It was just for me. And it was something that I really found solace in being able to express myself. And I was like,
Mm.
oh, okay. And I think it was maybe like the first song out of, and I shared with somebody, and like it got a very positive response. And I
Hmm.
started sharing more, and like I was kind of overwhelmed by the positive response that I got from it. And so I was
Cool.
like, yeah, maybe this could work. And in terms of like writing, uh, I would say from the beginning, like my lyrics were probably pretty cliche, to be honest. But
Yeah.
more so now these days, like I like reading a lot of poetry, and I like just words themselves, like the phonetics of words and putting words together, not even necessarily words that rhyme, but just I have
Mhm.
a deep admiration and appreciation for just words that sound good together. And so I consider
Cool.
myself kind of a little bit of a poet in my own right, outside of even like writing songs. And so I just like putting words together, and I think expressing myself through them. Um, I feel like I don't know. It's like there can be something I'm feeling, and I don't really
Hmm.
quite know what I'm feeling, but
Mm.
through like automatic writing, not thinking about it, just writing words, I can look back at what I've written and then understand
Mm.
myself a little bit more.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a really great way of looking about it. I mean, music in itself is, especially with lyrics and stuff, is basically like poetry.
Hmm.
It has that same sort of connection towards it, and that's why it's quite nice to be like a lyricist because you're almost a little bit like a poet, but in that you throw in like melodies and
Hmm.
instruments and that kind of stuff as well. So you sort of get to sort of expand on it into a like I guess into a little bit of a different realm. But no, I really like that that's sort of the way that that you went about it. And like especially because especially like a lot of your like the artwork and stuff of your songs and even just like the general kind of like aesthetical vibe that you throw a lot like that you put yourself out in toward is like really quite stylistic and it's really I don't know I can't even really think of the word at the moment for it but it really just feels like it's something that is really like personally you
Mhm.
and I think that really shows a lot in your releases and also goes deep and like into your music as well.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I actually give a lot of credit to my friend Josh, who does all my visuals and takes all my photos. And me and
Right.
him, it was like a really weird story how we met, but um, he
Mm.
just ended up living down the street from me. So basically,
Oh.
yeah. So I went to this concert alone, and
Hmm.
it was in 2018, and I was just
Hmm.
talking to these two girls on the train, and they were telling me about their friend who had taken a picture of the guy who I was going to see on the concert. And they were showing me the picture, and
Right.
I'm like, wow, that guy's visual style is really cool. Like, I'm actually looking for a photographer right now. And they're like, yeah,
Sick.
he lives in the same town as you, as us, whatever. And so I kind of
Yeah.
just like linked up with him. And then it was like we just kind of clicked. Like what I was doing, what he was doing, it
Mm.
just worked together. And so he inspires me and I inspire him, I feel. And so it's like this great creative synergy to where it's like before I think I kind of struggled to visually express what I was trying to express emotionally
Right.
and what I'm trying to express sonically. But
Hmm.
it's like I can just have something and he can just perfectly complement it. And yeah, in a way, that's like the way that I kind of wanted a band and I didn't really find that connection. I
Mm.
found that connection in somebody who it does different kind of creative work and that synergy still exists. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. I mean, there's nothing better than when you find someone that you just click with creatively, because then when you work with them, it's just such a fun time. Like for myself, I feel that with my sound engineer Jack, like back home, like if I was going in for a session with him, whether it was for the metal project or whether it was for the Chasm stuff, there was always going to be a full day of just doing little different things and like there's so much that he could bounce off me and I could bounce off him or
Mhm.
even if it comes to photos and stuff like changing concepts up with my photographer Josh, we go in there, it's like, cool, what are we doing today? Well, I have a plan for this and I have a plan for this, and then he puts his element on that as well, and it's really nice when it all kind of does sort of connect together and you have different creative ideas flowing from like two different sources. And yeah, as I said, like it sounds awesome that that's sort of how it goes in your work as well.
Yeah, and I think for any kind of creative or any collaborator in any capacity, you need to experience that, to know that it exists. You know, like when you're wrestling with something alone and it feels so tedious and it feels so counterproductive, and then you kind of find almost like a missing link, and then that connection is so seamless. You have to kind of experience that to know that you can have that experience. And once
Yeah.
you know that you can, you kind of don't really want to settle for anything less. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Because once you've had it, then you kind of like, well, I know that this is something that I can have. So when I don't have it, I feel like I'm not quite there yet. And so I have to
Totally.
keep on going until I can sort of get there. But yeah, I think that falls into the pockets of lots of people who are like creative and songwriters, even solo artists as well, because you know, we got to pick we also like sort of create at the team around us because we try and put out the stuff ourselves and whatever, but we've got to find someone to take the photos and we got to find someone to record and all the rest of it. Sometimes there are people who are incredibly creative and they can do all that stuff themselves. And those people are just incredible.
That is not me. I remember I tried doing the whole visual thing myself, and I just give me a camera. I can't do that. I can do the music thing, I can do the instruments, I have my keyboards here, I can do the
Yeah.
producing, but the visual stuff on my own, no.
Yeah, yeah. It's like the songwriting and the singing and stuff is where you
Yeah.
thrive. We'll outsource that stuff to like, you know, someone who's actually very good at it.
Exactly.
I try that stuff as well. And like sometimes sometimes I can get away with it, but sometimes I'm kind of like, nah, I think I might call a friend or call someone who can actually make this kind of like a bit better than what I can kind of deal with it. But I love to go into like your singles and that kind of stuff. Especially going into like because you released an EP last year.
Yes.
Mood Swings, but there was two of them, wasn't there? There was like one of them and
Yes.
there was two. Yeah,
Oh,
talk me through that.
yeah,
I'd love to know
okay.
your thoughts on doing that.
So basically, they were two separate projects that I had created initially at separate times, completely separate times. And then what happened was in the last year or so, I kind of just got so much better at recording that I'm like, let me just re-record everything over again. Cause I'm just when there's not like too many eyes, you can get away with doing stuff like that. And it was just a practice in me for upgrading my production. So actually both of those albums I think are EPs. Mood Swings 2 was released initially a year prior, and Mood Swings 1, I believe, was released in like 2019. So those are like the
Right.
same
Okay.
songs, the same kind of production, but just like a new performance, a new mix. And even now, like I have this perfectionist thing where I'm like, I want to do it over again, but I just gotta move forward. I can't do it a third time. I gotta just, you know.
Yeah, yeah, I understand that completely. But no, I love the fact that like, you know, there's like two, like, you know, 5 track, 6 track EPs that just adds to your like discography.
Hmm.
And yeah, you can like hear just, I guess, a little bit of the difference in, I mean, obviously your songs on like the Spotify that you've released and whatever go from, I think, 2018 all the way through to like
Yeah,
the present day in 2023. And through each one, you can you can see like the improvements and
yeah.
you can hear like the differences and all the rest of it. And it's so like, you know, great that for yourself, you feel like, well, maybe let's go back into some of these older songs and maybe do them again in the way that I've like, you know, the way that I am now performing at and see how much better they can sort of become or how much better they can sort of come out. There's a lot of bands, a lot of artists who do that.
Yeah, and I feel like for something that's going to exist forever, even after you die, and probably until the end of time as we know it, it's like
Mm.
I can spend an extra little bit of time to get it how I want it to sound. You know, like people have
Mm.
this thing where it's like, oh, I have to have this deadline and nothing will ever be perfect. But
Mm.
I disagree because, you know, my latest single I'm most proud of, and I listen to it, I'm like, I'm glad I spent all the time that I did on that because I
Yeah,
can live that existing forever, you know? Whereas like
100%.
earlier releases, I'm like, do I want to redo it? Like I said, but I'm not gonna do
Yeah,
that.
exactly. No, I'd love to talk about the new single because it is like, yeah, like it's real. I had it on repeat today. Obviously preparing for the podcast and all the rest
For
of it as
sure.
well. And it's weird, yeah, because I obviously like this has been sort of in the pipeline for maybe like a few weeks now, maybe even a month. So I listened to it quite like maybe at the start of this month. But no, I really like the single Million Miles. It's like, you know, kind of low j like lo-fi, I guess, but just like you put your own sort of spin on it, and it just yeah, it's really nice and calming and relaxing to sort of listen to. It flows really nicely. Like, what was your sort of your I guess your idea in like behind the song itself?
Yeah, so funny, I recorded it exactly where I'm sitting right now. I mean, I record all my music,
Oh, no
but
way.
it initially actually started, I was trying to record another song, and the creative process is so funny. I'm sure you can relate, where it's like
Mm.
you try to force one thing and it just won't work. But then sometimes in the background, in like the back of your mind, there's like this other little idea that's not really anything, but it's just kind of
Mm.
floating there. And you're like, maybe I'll just go that way. And so yeah, I
Yeah.
had a different song that I was trying to record, didn't work. And then I
Mm.
just had the riff for that just in my head. And then I
Yeah.
think I might have just played the whole thing through the first time. And I'm
Mm.
like, that's interesting. I didn't think much of it. And I'm like, okay, like I don't like to get my hopes up too much. I'm just like, okay, like that's cool. And then I think I
Yeah.
just like put the drum behind it. I'm like, I like that. That sounds cool. And then I did the bass line and it all came together very seamlessly. And then once I had that loop, I was just kind
Mm.
of looping it and then just like messing around on the guitar, just kind of going through different effects. And I found the one effect that you hear and I'm like, okay, now this is something. Like once
Yeah.
I had, when it was just the first thing and the second thing, I was like, okay, this is cool. But once I had that guitar, I'm like, this is interesting. I like where this is headed.
Right.
And yeah, and so I kind of sketched out the production and the arrangement. I didn't have the lyrics or a melody yet. And I
Hmm.
kind of just sat with the instrumental for a little bit. And then when the lyrics kind of came together, then I'm like, oh, this is a song. And then in a different session, I did the solo on the chorus, which is like the highlight of the song. And then
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, this is good. I like it.
That's awesome. No, I mean, I completely can relate to, the songwriting process of things just not working and sort of like trying to kind of force things or trying to make them kind of work. I mean, I quite literally have a song now that I think I have done I've had probably about 7 or 8 goes just with
Mhm.
like the lyrics alone because I just keep coming up with new things, but then it changes the song completely. And then
Mhm.
it's just like, oh
Yeah.
man. So like hopefully by the start of the year it'll be out so everybody can hear it. But I have sent many apologies to my guitarist Travis. I'm like, okay, I've noted it down to 3 versions. Pick which one that you like because I can't decide which one I want.
That's the thing about music in a song because it's like you are the creator of it and it can quite literally be anything. And
Mm,
the idea of something being able to be anything is very daunting because it's like it's unlimited, but so if something's unlimited, you're never going to finish it. And then if you're
yeah.
never going to finish it, it's like is it even anything at all? And then so it's like this game that you play with yourself and it is a very daunting thing, but I take solace in the fact that other people experience that too, like you just
Yeah.
described, you know.
Yeah, I love this. We're going like real deep into like the songwriting structure, real deep
Yeah.
thoughts. Nah, no, I completely agree. And as I said, with also even like with like solo stuff and whatever, like when you've got a song that you're just dealing with for so long or whatever, like sometimes you kind of need that sort of, I guess, outside ear
Mhm.
to kind of help you in sort of pushing it forward or to giving you another idea and that sort of thing. I mean, sometimes you know, I'd send a song to a friend or something, be like, hey, what do you think about this song? Do you think it's good, or do you reckon there could be other ideas that I could sort of shift into it to see if I can make it feel better? Because sometimes it's one of those things when like you can't see the picture when you're in the frame, kind of thing.
Yes.
And so if you
Yes.
spend so much time on it yourself, then it's kind of like, oh man, is this even any good? And then show it to somebody else, and most of the time they're like, yeah, but maybe do this and this
Mhm.
and that and that as well.
I think that, yeah, it's so helpful to have other creatives that, can give you a fresh perspective because, yeah, you definitely lose sight of stuff. I had one song that's not released yet, but it's probably gonna be the next single that I put out.
Oh,
And I kind of like was torturing myself to finish it, like not intentionally, just
yeah, no,
like,
never.
it's just, and at the end, I'm like, this sucks. I hate it. Music, whatever. Like, and I hate it. And then I showed it to my one friend whose opinion I really respect, and he really, really liked it. And just, it's not that like I needed that, but in a
Mm,
way, I kind of did from where the point that I was at, right? Because when you just kind of are just beating at something and it's just not working in your mind, and then you
yeah.
can see it through somebody else, it kind of gives you new ears, a new perspective of it, and then you
Mm.
can look at it from a fresh pair of eyes.
Oh yeah, no, for sure, absolutely.
I,
I'd love to ask you also about like music videos and that kind of stuff because I know that you've got. I watched the one music video that you've got. Are you like big on sort of like putting your songs to videos so you can sort of get
yes.
out to more of a like another sort of expression out into the song?
Yes, all the like music marketing gurus and industry people say don't do music videos anymore because it's not a good use of resources and XYZ and you can
Yeah.
just shorts and you can just make TikToks. But I love the music video. Like some of my favorite songs, and I think moments where I'm able to connect with some of my favorite artists even today is
Mm,
just going back to the same music video that I watched from a song that I found 10 years ago or 5 years
100%.
ago, and just watching that music video over and over, and I get something new out of it every time. And like I feel like that's kind of a lost art. I understand the economics of like maybe making a music video if you're going to have like a fast release schedule doesn't make sense, but
Yeah.
I really love the music video, and I think that it's always going to be something that I'm going to want to incorporate into my music. I actually have another for the latest single. It was
Mm,
supposed to be released with the single, but you
right.
just when
Didn't quite
you
line up.
procrastinate a little bit and you got to finish it up. So that music video is incoming for the latest single.
Oh,
But
sweet.
yeah, I think it's a very important thing for what I'm trying to do with my art, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, for sure. I can't wait to see it personally, and I'm sure there's plenty of other people who can't wait to see it as well. But no, I love your look on that as well, because I definitely agree with it as well. Like it's hard to, yeah, I mean, some people will fork out for like big, like pricey music videos or this, that, and whatever. But one of the really great things that I've sort of discovered through doing this podcast, especially with different artists and creatives, is that you really don't need to have a massive budget and a whole lot of stuff to just do a
Mhm.
video that just allows you to throw your vision into the song that people can then watch. Because I mean, if you like, if you're searching an artist on your Spotify or even on like internet or whatever, if you find a music video from them, then you're going to click on it and you're going to watch it, because that's going to connect you straight with the artist who's going to be singing straight back in your face. I mean, you can listen to an audio file whenever you want to and that kind of
Oh
thing.
yeah.
But if you can just like watch something where you can see the person really sort of giving the song more of a life than just listening to it, that breathes a whole new like perspective into the listener that they want to connect with the artist.
Yeah, it's a completely different experience, And yeah, like you just said, it gives life to a song that, maybe it was already there, but it's a completely different thing. And I think that we're missing that, You need four
Mm.
minutes to connect with this artist and not just 30 seconds in a TikTok.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the attention span of a lot of people these days is obviously very short, hence why like TikTok can be quite popular with also your Instagram reels and that kind of thing, because they're only very short videos. But, there are people who still really do connect with people through music videos and that sort of thing. I will take this time to shout out to my really good friend back in Adelaide, Falter, who just released his new single, Suffocating, and his music video is clicked up to I think 5.7K streams in the last week, which is insane. Like
Yeah.
it's going so well, and I'm so incredibly proud of him. But it also just shows that people still watch videos. I guess you
Mhm.
just have to release them obviously at a good time, but also it's the content to see if it matches what the artist is putting through. And I mean, his is fucking brilliant. It works so well with his artistic vibe of what he does. And
Yeah.
I'm sure what video that you've got coming out for your like single is probably got the same kind of artistic vibe that connects with you, that will connect with everybody else as well.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'd love for you to send me that. I'd love to check it out. Yeah, no, it's definitely y- you know, the whole thing about the attention span, I feel like you with different artists, we have different expectations. And I do feel like the pace of social media dictates that to an extent, but I also
Mm,
feel like the artist has a lot of say in dictating that. So I'll give you an example. One of my
sure.
favorite artists, Sampha, just came out with an album recently, and this is his second album. And the first one came out 6 years ago. Or you
Wow.
think of like Frank Ocean, where I think it might have been like 6 years between Channel Orange and Blonde.
Right.
Like they're setting an expectation of like, you're going to wait for the music that I'm going to make. I'm not going to just give you content every single day, every
Yeah.
20 minutes,
Mm,
and not to say that I'm going to like wait 6 years between albums, but
yeah.
I definitely think that, if you make your fans wait and you kind of set a precedent that like you actually care about what you do and it's not content for you, it's actually art and you want to take the time that you feel necessary to make it and
Mm,
actually give yourself that time and not feel pressured by like the fast pace of stuff
yeah.
of content today. I feel like that's kind of my philosophy in the way that I think about it. So
I personally think it's a brilliant philosophy. And yeah, it makes so much sense as well, just to not, as you say, like fast track things just for the sake of staying like relevant, or
mhm.
that kind of thing. I mean, for those artists as well, it's they've built themselves up a little bit on a precipice because they're very popular and that kind of thing as well. But even just doing that as an emerging artist, I think it's when you kind of start off, you sort of have to throw your singles out to sort of just get yourself a bit of momentum. But then as you sort of start to, get fans and have more streams or have more people behind your music and that kind of thing, you can just afford to really take a sit back and just work on your art or work on your songs until they're ready to come out. Because sometimes, if you fast track and rush things, it's not going to be the best product that you kind of want. And then as we both know, you're going to want to maybe go back and change it and then put it out again.
Yeah, totally. I have so much music that I have yet to record. I honestly feel like some of my songs that, I think my first hit's probably already written, maybe my second, third, and fourth and fifth. Like, that's a weird statement to make. I have so much music written. It's just, I need to give myself the time to actually flesh it out how it deserves to be. Like, I want to do that music a service, and I'm getting better every single day. And so I'm working on my skills also just as a producer so that I can produce these songs in the best light possible. You know? So it's really a thing that you have to give yourself time, and you got to figure out why it is that you're doing this. Are you doing this just because you want 1 million streams today, or do you actually want to put out something that will live beyond you?
Yeah, exactly. And it can build as you build yourself. As you say, as we know in the modern day, so many people want that instant gratification of I hit over 1,000 just like that and all that sort of stuff and whatever. And it's kind of that's good. If you can get to that point, that's totally fine. But you don't want to sort of hit it real hard all the time, because that stuff's going to be on there forever.
Yeah,
I'm sure that music will get over 1,000 streams eventually. Don't be buying your way out to try and make them be your mate, get heaps of that stuff now, because the more people who you gain through your music and through who follow you, because what you do is very true to yourself, the more they'll listen to your songs, the more they'll grow, and over time you'll get past those barriers, you'll break those barriers. But Absolutely. Sometimes with so many artists, they just want that 1,000 streams straight away, they want this and that and whatever, but then they're the ones that sort of they bomb pretty quick because that's their expectation. And so when they don't get it straight away, they're kind of oh man, maybe it's not worth doing this, that, and the rest of it.
I will say that I was not always like this, because when I was 17 and I put out my first song on SoundCloud, I remember in my last year of high school, I put out a song on SoundCloud and it got 100 streams the first day. And I'm I'm off to the races. And in my mind, I think at that point in my life, I was if I'm not successful by the time I'm 19, if I'm not famous, then I'm a failure. I literally thought that.
Yeah.
I have the potential to do it. I had just such high hopes that it would happen so fast. And I'm so glad that it didn't. I'm so glad that I'm on this journey, taking my time. But I think, I don't know, I'm just, as you grow a little bit older, you kind of mature with that, and you kind of let yourself.
100%.
Yeah.
No, 100%, man. I mean, hell, my the first metal song that I did with my band got 850 streams in the first 2 days, and I was oh my god, this is the best thing ever. And then the second song we put out got 30.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what's happening? And it's this is the way it goes, man. As you say, we're here for the journey rather than the gratification and the prizes and the reward. We're here just to put the songs out, express what we're feeling, and hope that it connects with a bunch of people.
Absolutely. What I've really come to realize, and this might sound cliche, but the reward is making the music, and anything other than that is really it's cool, and I'm hoping to make a career and sustain myself and play shows in arenas and stuff, but the reward is making the music, the fact that I made it, and I realize that. And so if I don't expect anything beyond that, then I never let down, because if I'm proud of it, then, I really know that I did something that, I don't know, that can represent me,
100%, man. This has been such a great conversation, Tyler. I really appreciate you joining me. I mean, we've gone so deep into just the psychology of a musician, of a creative, and all that kind of stuff. It's been such a great chat for my side on a Sunday night for me as well. This is this is as deep as we get on a Sunday night conversation. So, but no, thank you so much for joining me, man. It's been an absolute treat to meet you. I wish you all the best with your music, and I await very patiently your next couple of releases.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and I hope to do the same thing again soon.
Hell yeah, we shall. Thank you so much for tuning in to the episode this week. I hope you enjoyed the conversation with Tyler and myself. Go check out his new single, A Million Miles. Chuck him a follow on the socials and keep up to date with everything he's got going on. There are links in the description of this episode where you can find it all. As for myself, follow me on Instagram or YouTube at This Is Chasm. You can also watch some full-length podcast episodes on my channel featuring chats with Emmy Mack and Laurie Black. So don't forget to leave a rating and a review for the show wherever you listen to your podcasts, and I'll see you next week for a new episode with a new guest here on Chasm Converses.